Hello and welcome back to another episode of Uncropped. Today is going to be a different episode in the sense where I'm not going to be talking about a certain film in particular. I'm going to be talking about films I want to make in the near or maybe even further distant future. I have a list here, and probably I'll go off of this list more. I have a couple that I want to start talking about when it comes to stuff I've written down and I've made a significant progress, not significant, but a good amount of progress on. And first thing I'm going to start with is I started making and or want to continue creating a documentary on my hometown of Camden, Maine. The reason why I want to make a film on this is because I really want to highlight the experiences that I had that made me fall in love with such a town. I fell in love with it in a sense where I am so grateful that most of my life I was raised there. But there's just so much hidden beauty that not a lot of people get to experience because they haven't been there, or there's just been bigger towns that gain more attention, like Portland, Maine, for example, is definitely a more popular town, and it's okay to have those towns. It's just a matter of me showcasing the town that I love and that I fell in love with. So that's my goal with this, and I started filming for it. I did this past summer, I believe I started it, and it's just been sometimes it's really tough to figure out how you want to format or structure something like this, which is fine. Honestly, it's totally fine when it comes to especially like a documentary, like a real film, and wanting to make it more than just like a 2-minute short film with just a montage of stuff. You want to make sure that you cover a lot of it. Like, I was diving into the history of it. I was diving into where it was, neighboring towns, all that kind of stuff. And it's still my dream to have that film be made, especially soon. But I don't know if the start that I had is exactly what I wanted to. I found a bunch of old archival footage from the library and stuff, so that would be really helpful for me as a filmmaker to be able to incorporate that somehow and really be able to show the history of Camden. So that's that one, and that's obviously a documentary / nonfiction film, however you want to talk about it. But I'm going to estimate that it'd probably be like a 30-minute film at least. I know there's a lot of history to go into, but I also don't want to make it be too long and some people be uninterested by it, because it's a very interesting topic. You just have to make sure that you spread it over a time period where people will still retain all the information and be paying attention to what you're talking about. So that's the most important part when it comes to film, especially like that. The second film that I want to talk about is River's Edge. This film we've been teasing and talking about, and I've been making a lot of comments on like how much progress we're making on it. It is a film that I have co-written with my girlfriend Piper. She is an extremely great writer, and we are just about done writing the script. The hardest part, though, since she's still in college, is doing the pre-production, organizing all of the scenes and figuring out actors and actresses and doing all that kind of stuff. That's really difficult, especially when you don't know what your timeline looks like. You don't have a budget yet. You don't have any of that stuff, and you don't know, I don't even know where I'm going to be living in 2 months, 3 months. So that's hard to plan for. Not just for me, for Piper as well. She's graduating college in just under a month. So that's something to take into consideration. So I think right now what we're going to try to do is make all the polishing details on the script really, really great. do a run through, figure all that out, and then from there, once we all kind of like get settled, we can make the film. From there, we can just work on the pre-production, work on the production itself, and then hopefully get the production complete. And that is like one of the first fully from pre-production to post-production, except for a little bit of the writing. One of the first fully Room 310 films, because we worked on Shouting at the Walls, but we started that and planned it before Room 310 was even a thing. We started it in like September or August of 2021, and in 2022 in February we announced Room 310 was starting. So that's it. River's Edge is going to be a milestone. It's an hour and probably an hour and a half, hour 20 minutes long film. It's like a drama comedy kind of thing. Again, it's full Room 310. We're gonna have to do fundraising for it. It's a long film. There are a lot of aspects to it. There's some traveling involved, but I think it's absolutely an achievable film, and it's one of my favorite films. I mean, if I could give, I'm gonna read the log line so I don't butcher any of the descriptions of it. So the log line itself is, this maybe need to be updated, but a trio of teenagers try to chase their dreams, but they encounter a few obstacles in the way of their final destination. Yes, the determination to prove their doubters wrong is strong, but is it strong enough, and will the trio make it out together? And a little insider, how do I want to give this to you? A little insider information on this film is I've set it up in such a way where there may potentially be an opportunity for maybe some sort of, I'm just going to drag this along, maybe some sort of potential kind of sequel, depending on how it goes. But I don't know. It's unsure. The real description is a film showing twin siblings Cash and Hadley Rivers and their best friend Riley Tellier try to move on from high school and travel the world. There seem to be many things in the way of this, including their uncomfortable home life and hard times at school. Their goal to travel is seen as impossible by so many people, and they are setting out to prove their doubters wrong. Will they succeed, or will they get pushed off the edge? So right now, this is an exciting film to me. This is like the most, realistic film for me right now, because we've already started the process, and we're all really committed to it. Right now, we have a few people that have committed to it. Like I'm in it, obviously. I'm not in it, but I'm working on it, obviously. Piper is obviously working on it. Colleen, who's also part of Room 310 as well. And Dylan, obviously, he's one of our Room 310 members as well. We have a couple other people who have said that they may want to help out. And if so, awesome. But again, that was, we started planning this all out. We started planning this all out at least a year ago by now. So that's the tough part, is figuring out the, what's changed since then. And we have this whole idea board about when we were looking for actors. We would love to have the actors that we chose, but it's just a matter of that was a while back. And then we got I don't know, we really go back and forth together, because we go and Dylan's a very good writer, so we go back and forth with him, be like, hey, what do you think we should do with this dialogue or whatever. Colleen also looks at it as well. We have friends. I'm gonna send it to some of my former professors and get their thoughts on it to see really where we can improve to really make this a good film and make it really, really stand out because it's our first like big film since we've launched, and this is my first big film besides like Shouting at the Walls, which even then it was only a 10-minute documentary. As amazed as I was with it, it was only 10 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna be a great film. It's just a matter of like, okay, how do we really pull it together with everything that's changed? So that's River's Edge. That's one of my dream projects. Like, 'cause, and not just me. Piper, obviously, she helped. She was one of the originators of the idea. We both had it like one day, and I was like, hey, I have this idea for this film. I don't remember who it was. Like, she kind of suggested it to me, and I was like, ooh, okay, let's expand on this. And we were just like writing over FaceTime because I was in like Massachusetts and she was up in Maine for the summer, and I was like, okay, let's do something with this. And then I don't remember that's exactly how it went or not, but it was awesome. Like, because we have this stuff like, okay, we estimate production time to be 2 weeks. We estimate the film length to be about 120 minutes because it's about 75 minutes in the script, 75-page script right now, but that's obviously potentially going to change. And then we got some other films. Like, I genuinely want to make more documentaries. Like, if I could make just a documentary about everything, I want to do something with photography in the sense where I want to make a film about photography, which is a really weird way to say it, but I do. And I don't know how to go about that. That's one thing I want to do. I also have a bunch of old film cameras that I want to utilize, whether it be making like an old style film or making just making a film with the cameras and making it look that kind of way. There's a lot I want to do, and I want to also maybe do something with Camden International Film Festival. Is in my hometown of Camden, Maine. It's a very, very awesome film festival that I got to like volunteer in a couple times. I helped out with, but I want to maybe do something with that, like, behind the scenes of like what goes into planning a film festival, like what goes into all of it, and then maybe even if it's good enough, it can be shown at that film festival, so then the people attending the film festival can be like, holy crap, this is what went into making exactly what I'm at right now. So that's one thing I'd love to do. I mean, and if for some reason the SIF people are watching, like, hit me up. I'd love to do that at some point. I also want, at some point in my life, I don't know when, to do some sort of travel film. Whether it be a fictional film that really relies on travel, because if I'm honest, that's what River's Edge was originally supposed to be. It was going to be a complete travel film. But we really shifted, I'm going back to River's Edge, but we really shifted the direction of the film, which I'm totally fine with. I think we've made something amazing already. But yeah, I want to make like a straight up travel film, whether it be nonfiction or fiction. It's going to be a goal of mine to do that, especially. And then I want something to do with sports. I love sports. If you know me in real life, you know that. I love sports. I love baseball, football, like racing, all that kind of stuff. So eventually I want to be able to do something off of that. And I don't know, whether it be going behind the scenes at some sort of sporting event or something like that. I know that's like really high hopes, especially with Room 310 being such a small company as it is right now. But I mean, if I could choose to do anything in my life, it would just be to make all these projects and work with like communities and do that kind of stuff to benefit people. Like the nonfiction films, I love telling people stories. I love helping people. I love all that kind of stuff. So that's really where I get my nonfiction film kind of personality. Like you saw, Chain Reaction, Power Moves. We did all that stuff. And Power Moves, there will be an episode on it soon, I promise. But there's just been so much. Shouting at the Walls, especially. That we recently won an award for that, Best Student Short Documentary. And that's awesome, because we love spreading the message out there. And me especially, I love telling those stories. And you have to be vulnerable through film. That's why I've made films like Journey to Film, all that kind of stuff. So those I'm really going to talk about. Like the Journey to Film, I believe I'm going to do an episode on it like later on, and it will be released like in a couple weeks or whatever. So that's just it's important to me, very important. I want to also I talked about chain reaction for a minute. I would love to make a film on chain reaction, reflecting on it and being like, okay, we talked to these people about how they were operating during the very beginning of COVID, because it was like April 2020. That's the very beginning of COVID. What things have been implemented since COVID started that are still there today? What has changed? Like, I don't think there were a lot of remote classes in colleges before COVID, but now look at this. Like, you got a lot. And you got now curbside pickup at places. You have mobile order. You have all that kind of stuff that businesses had to adapt to and change. And even though COVID is not as significant in our lives right now as it was before, so much has changed. And you have to really take that into consideration when thinking of ideas to make films and stuff. Like, think about something that impacted just a little while ago and be like, hey, how did this change life on a daily basis as we know it? Because I swear, if like COVID didn't hit, I would be in a completely different place, completely different person. And that was only like 3 years ago. Just over 3 years ago. It's insane to think about. So, yeah. So that's one thing I want to do. I want to do a follow-up to Chain Reaction, because that film I was proud of. I mean, if I could make it again, you already saw the episode, I hope, but there were things I'd be doing differently. But it's just important to me to look back at that and be like, hey, what happened since then? So that's part of my my thing. So we talked about Camden, that film, River's Edge. Talked about Chain Reaction, like 2, or whatever you want to call it. And just like a bunch of other small projects and stuff. So those are basically what I really want to do with my life. I know this is a longer episode. It's about almost 20 minutes. But yeah, it just shows there's a lot that I want to do. And there are a lot of people I want to work with. And there are a lot of things I just think that I can do better with. And I want to spread messages to people, whether it be like, oh, this is how COVID affected our lives, or something like, hey, this is the significance of a small town in Camden, Maine that nobody knows about. Yeah. So those are my dreams. Next episode, I promise we'll be back to our regular scheduled program of looking back at films and reacting to them. So thank you all for watching or listening, depending on what platform you're on. And I will talk to you next time. See you next time on Uncropped.